Yeah, it's interesting. Um, and I guess the art school has kind of changed now actually since I left because I had some muralists in my thesis as examples of people who inspired me, and I was asked to remove them because they're like, this is not fine arts, and they're not essentially real artists, is what I was getting told. So I had to really save that for after school.
Welcome to Bench Talk, the podcast where I dive into real conversations with established artists to reveal what it really takes to build a thriving art career. I'm your host, Tom Gerard, an Australian artist and co-founder of the Art Career Academy, the online school dedicated to helping visual artists rise up and go pro. If you've been feeling a bit stuck in your art practice and you're craving more consistency, style development and creative confidence, I've got something for you. From Tuesday the 20th to Monday the 26th of May, Claire from the Art Career Academy and I are running a totally free 7-day drawing challenge designed to help you build momentum, reconnect with your creativity and show up for your art one day at a time. You can sign up now at artcareeracademy.com/drawing-challenge and we'd love to see you there. Welcome to another episode of Bench Talk. I'm your host, Tom Gerard. This is the beginning of a new era of Bench Talk. We are now doing it via YouTube as well as audio only on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you want to watch the interview, check us out on YouTube at Art Career Academy. Yeah, we'll be putting up all sorts of content on there, not just the podcast, but there'll be lots of live trainings and other videos I'll be making around the studio and out and about, all art-related content. So subscribe to the channel and stay tuned. So today I'm catching up with an Adelaide-based artist named Jasmine Crisp. I'm a big fan of Jasmine's work. She's been, just doing amazing gallery work, but also painting really large-scale murals with, what I see as being a part of the new generation of mural artists that's out there on the scene. It's bringing a lot more, traditional painting to the streets and to the mural space. I had a great time chatting with her. Found out a lot more about her practice and her art life. Stay tuned for the interview. Check her out on Instagram at Jasmine_Crisp. Yeah, had a great time chatting with her and enjoy the interview. Here we go. Bench Talk, episode 195, Jasmine Crisp. And as always, this episode is brought to you by the Art Career Academy. For those of you out there wanting to build your art career and take it to the next level, check out artcareeracademy.com. Hey Jasmine, how are you going? Thanks for taking the time to sit down and have a chat.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, a pleasure. I've been admiring your work for a while now. You came onto my radar through your murals was the first thing that caught my eye. So can you tell me where you're from and how you got into art?
Yeah. So I was born in Adelaide and studied in Adelaide and still stuck in Adelaide. And I really loved drawing when I was younger. I guess I didn't really think of it as a career, but I found an art school here that just felt like Hogwarts to me, I suppose. And then once I started there, I guess, became an artist. It was very organic. Yeah, so I've been painting, I guess I graduated there 2017. So I've been painting almost 10 years and been doing murals since 2020. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that art school, was that the Adelaide Central School of Art?
Yeah. It's a really small art school here in Adelaide, with a lot of focus on traditional training and like actually studying to be a practicing artist, like not just an art teacher or interested in art, like literally be a practicing living artist, which I thought was very cool.
Okay. Well, what does that entail?
Well, I suppose differently to other courses in the arts, it does have like whole subjects just based on like writing applications or searching for mentorships or like almost like practical tasks in functioning as artists. And the lecturers all have to be people who've practiced as a full-time artist in order to be a teacher. So it's not so much about who's published the most papers, it's more about who's actually been living as an artist. So the people teaching you are telling you the reality, which I think is different to, yeah, someone who maybe hasn't done it.
Yeah, is it all positive what they're teaching you? Because I know I've spoken to some well-established artists out there, and they keep saying, "Look, it's tough out there and all this," but these are usually artists who have the peak of their career was through the 80s and 90s, which was a completely different era to what we live in now. What were they talking to you about, like how to build your name and make money as an artist in this day and age?
I think sort of, because you're right. Like it was different times, and I think now there's different advantages and disadvantages. But I think at least the reality of it seemed like it is tough, and you have to work harder than everyone else to be like at all, even register. So I think that really kicked me in the pants young, was like my competition isn't just people in my year level in a uni. My competition is people of all decades from all different kinds of life who are working really hard on this. So if I want to be involved, like I can't just think like a kid anymore. I have to be really serious about making and not be shy and just put work out there. And I don't know. I guess not all of it was positive, and maybe not everyone has a different experience of it, but it at least taught me that it's like, yeah, get your shit together pretty much. Work hard.
Yeah, because I went to design school and studied graphic design, and I know that like in the first week there, they said, look, there's 25 students in the room. They said only like 3 of you are going to be graphic designers and all that. And I think it's a really disheartening thing to hear in the
Yeah,
beginning, because it's like, oh, it's like a lottery or something like that. When I actually like afterwards, like I looked around as well. I was computer illiterate when I first started, and like I thought I had such a steep learning curve. But then I realized that it wasn't so much only a few of you are going to be able to do it. It's like only a few of you are going to actually commit to and do what's necessary to actually build, to get to that level. And I feel that that's what sort of sets people apart, that I've noticed. It's like, how much do you want this? Because anyone can learn to be an artist and build an art career. It's the fact of the matter is it's not easy, and you've got to dedicate yourself to it.
yeah.
Was there any of that sort of talk going on?
I think that's completely relatable. Yeah, I don't think maybe that was sort of said to us in that kind of way, but it was kind of obvious after a little while that the people that stayed were just the ones that were like always working and always present and always cared. And it didn't almost matter who you were or what you were making. It was kind of just about showing up. Yeah, and that was something I was completely like, cool, I'll work harder than literally everyone because I love this. So I think it's possible.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What do you think some of the key lessons you learned while you were at art school?
Um, Good question. I think, yeah, a lot of it was growing up a little bit quicker. I guess I started when I was 17, and there were probably only like 5 of us under the age of 30. It was a very mixed school. So you had people that were lawyers and doctors and parents. And I think being around that atmosphere made me quite quickly also question why, like, what do I have to share and what is my story in amongst this too? Um, so a lot of, I suppose, just placing myself in all of that. And then I think technically there are a few lecturers I learned a lot from in terms of painting, because I started only really caring about drawing and then I left as painter. So I think that's something that happened because of being like forced quite rigorously to learn something new in a way that I wouldn't have done myself. because it was very strict. It was very like you paint in black and white for 6 months before you're allowed color. And before you're allowed color, you have to make a color wheel from scratch that takes 6 weeks. And I wouldn't have done that on my own because it's tedious. But being forced to do it, I walked away with everything I ever needed to know. And now it's so much easier for me to just express with paint than probably any other medium.
Yeah, do they also teach you to break the rules as well?
Yeah, I suppose that I kind of am a bit stubborn and not super good with rules anyway. So I think maybe that's why the institution was good, because they're forcing rules on me and I was inherently going to break them once I knew them. And everyone has to break them in their own way. So I think, although maybe they didn't tell me how to, it was towards the end especially encouraged and something that I felt equipped to then play with.
Yeah, because I've got this theory with with art schools and art history. It's just a theory that I've got. Like I don't know if it's right or wrong, but if you're teaching everyone that this is how it's done, this is how you paint a landscape, this is how you paint a portrait, da 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 da, and everyone's sticking to the same rules and formula, you'll get a lot of sameness coming out.
Yeah.
But I think the beauty of art is then finding your own way and expressing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually always found that super irritating about a lot of the other students would complain that like there's other ways of doing this, or I know that you can do this way, and sort of interrupt classes where I'm like, we're here to learn this way. That's all valuable information to us. And I just thought I just had an approach of like, soak it up. Whatever I want to use, I will. Whatever I don't want to use, I won't. And like, rather than talking back, just let it all go in. And then, yeah, use what I need to use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've noticed you use a lot of like your paintings are narrative rich, and you use a lot of personal reference in there. Did they teach you to sort of bring your own personality and life into your artwork?
No, I think that was definitely my job. Um, if anything, actually, when it came to critiques, I found it very difficult because of the formal outcomes of things like essays and whatever. Using my own personal references isn't very like valid resource material, if you will. Or there'd be some things that are like maybe too personal to just talk about to bunches of people. So making the work really personal to me actually made it kind of complicated. But I would just reference a lot of other artists who had done similar things with their own existences to sort of validate what I was doing. Yeah, for the system.
Yeah. What do they mean by what do you mean by it wasn't valid to use your own personal references? Because I come from the viewpoint that personal reference is the most authentic reference for art.
Yeah,
Because no one can take that from you. You're the one making the artwork.
exactly.
You know.
Yeah, and it's the only thing for me that felt, yeah, valid as my own perspective on the world. But I guess usually, especially with something like a thesis, you have to have a topic that you can back up with evidence about other things from history or from studies or from, contemporary life, and putting my own stories in there. Sometimes, yeah, especially valid if I could compare them to other artists or other stories, but standing alone didn't seem correct in that kind of educational format. Yeah. But
Yeah.
obviously something at least I could grapple with at the time, and then once I'd left I can do whatever I want. So
Yeah. And how's that been for you? So like what year was this? 2017 you said you finished, was that right?
yeah, I did honours. So I was there for 5 years, from high school into my existence. Yeah.
Wow. So I take it like you've had other jobs, but not like other careers. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Just retail jobs.
yeah, and yeah. So like, do you feel that like your work ethic you have developed yourself from just like the desire to be an artist?
Yeah, I think that's just something I've always had. I suppose it's just a personality type thing. Since I was born, it's just like put a lot of pressure on myself to do things, or I guess just self discipline, which I don't know, I found really useful in my life. And no one's telling me to do anything. And my family weren't at all creatively minded. So it was just very much something I knew I wanted and felt the inner need to pursue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because people like I have people in my life that say, "Oh, Tom, you work too hard and this and that, you're doing too much or whatever," and it's like I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I've had
Yeah.
so many different jobs and careers throughout my life, and it's like this is my dream. This is the job that I always wanted that I didn't actually
Yeah.
think was possible for me, and so I'm going to
Yeah.
work my ass off to make sure that I continue doing this. And yeah, it's just I know I feel that it's something that not every artist has is that like drive to really you know go all in and give it their all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I fully understand that.
But I see that with like your mural work, for instance. Like you paint some really massive, highly detailed murals. What were your early murals like, and how did you actually, coming through art school? Like I take it they didn't sort of push you towards muralism, and you found that on your own. Like, how did that journey come about for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. Um, and I guess the art school has kind of changed now actually since I left because I had some muralists in my thesis as examples of people who inspired me, and I was asked to remove them because they're like, this is not it's not fine arts, and they're not essentially real artists, is what I was getting told. So I had to really save that for after school. Um, it was something I always really was interested in, but didn't think I would be capable of. And then I guess I just told people a lot of the time I wanted to paint a wall one day, and an opportunity came along with a little artist residency in the city, where they gave me like an interior wall to paint. And whilst I was doing that, there was another quite established muralist here. Um, well, I call him, I don't know, a painter because he comes from graffiti, but he was like, "Oh, we've got a new kid in town. Like, do you want to learn? Can I help you?" And I think that's something about the street art or mural community where I realized instead of everyone being competitive, they actually really want to be together and they really want to help painters. And I was like, yeah, like, really? And then he introduced me to Macca, from originally from he's from Adelaide but lives in Melbourne now. But Macca was doing a job here in Adelaide, and since he uses brushes for a lot of what he does, I had the opportunity to assist him and sort of learn about how that's all made. And yeah, it excited me. So I got really lucky, I suppose. Like my first proper commission um, was like an 18-meter building right in the middle of the city. Um, a lot because I just told everyone like I want to paint big, and I'd been practicing with people and learning, and the right job came along. And ever since that job, which was the start of 2020, I've been able to do art full time, and just smashed like heaps and heaps of murals in that first year, treating it kind of as like an apprenticeship. And a lot of the time it was difficult being told what to do and what to make with quite strict parameters coming from art school background where I already had my own practice and I already had my own ideas and things I wanted to make. And for that first year, I definitely didn't get to do much of that in public art. But I suppose the goal's always been to try and get more work that celebrates my own ideas. And mural festivals are the best for that.
Yeah. Was that, those parameters, were they being set by, your teachings at art school, but also by the, people commissioning you to do a mural? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, I guess I just came from a background and I believed it in myself, and I still do, of like, I have my own painting practice and I'm a professional artist, and if you're hiring me to paint a painting, don't tell me what to paint. And like, if you want me and my work, ask me what I'd like to make rather than telling me it has to be this species of bird or flower or this many like sort of council boxes that need to be ticked. I found that really frustrating because I wanted to make really new original paintings, but I found myself forced to just make I guess paintings that I've already seen in public space. A lot of getting requested to do the same subject matter and not getting the means to make what I wanted to do, which was just real paintings, like fine art, just paintings, but bigger, and not treating them as different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. I feel that there's a theory that I have is that you will only ever get asked to make what you've already made, because that's all people know that you're capable of. And they'll go, oh, I'll have one of those. It's like a menu in a restaurant, People just look through your selection of murals you have online or whatever and just say, I'll have one of them, thanks. And I really feel that as an artist, or in studio and also out in mural world, it's very important to sort of have self-initiated projects where you can just go out there and do whatever you want and what's coming through. And so you can take it to the next level and show what the next stage of you is that's happening. Do you go out and just paint walls on your own just so you can explore new ideas?
Yeah. I've done a few. I call them freebies, but actually I'm paying to do them. So it's kind of, I suppose, actually I really liked this way that Guido put it to me. I remember meeting him years ago in Brisbane, and he said, you know how people save up for a holiday? He's like, the holiday is the painting. You're saving up to do your own wall because that is the holiday. So yeah, sometimes I'll save up to do little holidays, but even then, I guess it's difficult to get permission to do whatever you desire.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. The spots are out there. I think, I don't know what Adelaide's like, but definitely in Melbourne. I know that if I want to go and paint something, I'll go find a wall, especially when you're not being paid to do it. But I guess it's up to the property owner what they want as well. It's it's a bit of give and take, but there's definitely some spots, and I think all you really need at the end is a photo to be able to show.
Yeah. Those spots are always temporary.
Yeah. So there's like, through looking at your murals and the photos you've put out there, like some of them look absolutely massive. And I found that there seems to be I guess a theme that I've noticed with a lot of female muralists being the biggest and boldest muralists out there on the scene. Do you think this is sort of, I don't know how to put it, but like it's been a very dominated, well, art in general has been dominated throughout art history by males, and then through graffiti and street art, it was very male dominated as well. But now there's all these amazing female artists coming up through the scenes. And I look at artists, say like Georgia Hill and George Rose, and see some of the walls that they're painting, and they're the biggest murals out there that I've seen. And I've noticed that you're painting some humongous walls as well. Is that something that's high on your radar, to go the biggest and boldest and most highly detailed and have the most impact?
I suppose. I guess I just love a big wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right about there is a degree of especially when I first started, I asked the people who taught me, like, I'm getting asked all these questions. Do you guys get asked these questions? And they were like, no, we've never been asked that on site before. And I'm like, I've been asked that 10 times today. And I think it is very much like I am treated as less capable, or bit more condescended to because of how I appear. And that does get me a little bit fired up to be like, okay, I'll do this the fastest and I will work harder than all of them, just to sort of be like, I deserve a place. Yeah, but now I feel a little bit more like I shouldn't have to feel like I need to prove that to anyone. It's more about just making good paintings. And when someone asks me if I'm allowed to be using a lift on my own, I can smile and wave. But yeah, I guess we got to have our solidarity and just be proud of what we're making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome to see. Like, it definitely caught my attention, especially when, you're in the photo standing in front of the mural for scale. You see it and just like, wow, look at the size of that. And yeah, no, it's really impressive, because I know what it takes to paint big walls. It's hard work. Like, it's not just doing. It's not just going to take more time or anything. There's a lot of energy that goes into it, and it's you got to get your head around the whole thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think I care a lot and it excites me. And for now, my body is dealing with it. So for as long as I can keep doing it, yeah, I get energy from it. And I think every artist that does large scale is probably the same, regardless of where they come from or how old they are or how good their spine is. It's like they just care enough to push through.
Yeah. I know some graffiti writers from back in the day that used to train for graffiti.
Yeah.
So like they'd build their shoulders up so they can climb fences easily. They'll go on like really long distance runs so they can outrun the police if need be, and things like that. And but I sort of feel that with muralism, it needs a certain level of training as well, because I feel the first thing to go will be the body before the brain, if you know what I mean. Like, you'll have the urge to do it, but are you conscious of that, and do you like look after your health and wellness to be able to continue to paint large scale?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, well, I grew up with two parents that were professional runners, they're athletes. The whole family was sporty and healthy and blah, blah, blah. So I think I've naturally grown up with a consciousness of like the importance of fitness and health as a general thing. But I think now, especially, I turned 30 this year, so I'm starting to feel my body. And I think as more of a preventative measure, I've got into yoga more. I guess because I used to just love running, but it's not the best on the knees, and it's not the best to help like a sore back or whatever either. So I think yoga's been more of a, the more that I do it, the less I feel injuries in general. So I think as a good just preventative exercise, I'm finding that it could be my way of prolonging a mural career. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel the shoulders are a really important one. Your painting arm shoulder and is a very important part of the body to take care of for an artist. You know.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Actually, it was funny. So I have like a big full body tattoo, and it's symmetrical on both sides. And so when we were applying it with a stencil, the artist has to come in and sort of correct anything that about the body that isn't symmetrical, because nobody's body is fully symmetrical, so you adjust it. And he was like, "Your right shoulder is heaps bigger than the left shoulder." I'm like, yeah, that makes sense because that's my rolling arm, that's my painting arm. So we had to actually change the tattoo to make it bigger on the right shoulder, which I think exactly what you were saying. It's a pretty key point of walls, especially.
Yeah. So you're all in for the art career now. No getting an accountant job with a full body
Nah,
tattoo.
no good at maths.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Getting back to the scale of your artwork,
yeah,
you do a lot of studio work as well, and you know the contrast between like painting small scale and painting large scale. Do you find it easier to paint large scale?
yes, I
There's
think so.
less room for error, isn't there?
Yeah, it's also kind of freeing. Like sitting in a studio inside for months on end is actually just not good for anybody. But even if I have back to back walls and I'm really tired and my body hurts, it's like I might go to 3 different cities in Australia in a few months and meet so many people and be outside and I'm dancing on the lift and like there's something about it as well that makes you feel just a little bit more well than being locked up in a space and sitting down every day. Um, yeah,
Mm.
but studio's good for different things.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, do you see, like, because I know you exhibit a lot as well, do you see, like, your mural practice and your studio practice as two separate entities of your art, or do you just see them as it's all just your art and your art career?
Yeah, I'm trying to, especially now, make them very much the same thing, just different platforms. Um, I've always thought of it as an extension of my existing practice. So I try to keep them the same. I guess it's just that thing of in the studio, I can paint naked ladies, and outside, I am a lot more dictated in my subject matter. So um, there's obviously going to be key differences with content,
Mm.
but I want to make them look like they're the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I feel about it as well. Like, I feel that, you know, I my mural work and getting out there and painting is just on the streets is just like it's where I'm from, and it's like I've gone for years without doing any much of it, and I feel like something's missing from my art practice. But then, when I think about my career and my trajectory and where I'm wanting to go, it's very like gallery and all in the art world based. But I also think as well, like, that word like personal brand gets thrown around a lot as well. But I see painting on the streets and doing mural work as part of like advertising for my studio work. Because most of the collectors that come and buy my artwork, they say, "Oh, so I walk past this mural every day, and that's why I got in touch. I want to get something for my house." You know, it's I see it as no different from like Apple, Coca-Cola, or McDonald's putting a billboard on a street corner or a bus stop or anywhere. Top to bottom on a tram. All sorts of things. Like, and I
Yeah.
think that it's for an artist that has both areas of their art career. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a great way to build your art career because I've never seen any of your work in the flesh actually, but it
Mm.
was your murals that really caught my eye. And once again we were talking about scale and all that sort of stuff. It's an opportunity to really stand out and you know, uh, be noticed because when we're talking about galleries and studios and stuff, they're all behind doors. You have to enter a building and to be able to have access to that artwork. Where people who are viewing street art and murals are actually you know they could be pursuing their passions within art and their interests within art without ever having to walk into a building.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really beautiful because of that. Yeah, the accessibility of it. And in Adelaide, people are pretty afraid to go into galleries. So, like you said, like there's that really sad feeling of like no one actually sees any of my paintings in real life, and then there's a weird thing of creating these objects that are expensive as well. That like no one I know could afford them. I couldn't afford my own paintings. Whereas with walls, like that's for everyone. And I love doing them. But the fine arts world does have. I think I've been a bit cautious sometimes with walls where, like, large galleries don't want to sign with artists that do murals. And I've been told by like more professional art advisors that it's like it makes you less exclusive. It makes you less of a fine artist. So you got to stop doing walls if you want to be represented by these big Sydney galleries or whatever. But I'm like, well, maybe I don't want to be represented by those big city galleries then, because I don't. That's not what I want. And doing walls is very beautiful and rewarding on so many different levels that, yeah, I think perhaps the future could be something that incorporates both being friends and being accepted.
Yeah, I think it's old thinking in
Yeah,
my viewpoint. I just think that's out of date. Like
yeah,
these people who are saying it, what do they look like and what's their background and how long have they been in the industry? Because things have changed.
for
Like
sure.
I don't know. Like I've got gallery representation. I exhibit internationally as well as in Australia, and I've never for a moment thought to stop painting on the streets because it might impact that. you know,
Yeah,
I don't know. I just think we live in a new age, and there's large sections of the art world haven't quite caught up yet. And even what you were saying about at art school, they were saying that muralism or painting outdoors isn't real art. Like it's the
yeah,
same thing. It's like you're smearing coloured gloop over a surface, and it's exactly what you're doing in a studio. You're just
yeah,
smearing more of it on a larger surface. And how can one be one thing and the other's not? It just doesn't make any sense. You
yeah.
know.
But I think you're right. I think it's getting better. And the art school invited me back to paint a mural in the school years later.
Oh yeah.
So I think that was kind of a nice moment of being like, see,
Yeah.
like we are accepting this more now. And I think um, it can really become that. But and like galleries like Backwards, I think were really exciting to me because they represent a lot of artists who do both. So it's feeling like that's becoming more acceptable. But yeah,
Yeah, because I like years ago I worked for Christie's, the auction house in London,
ah,
and
cool.
and so I got to see like that side of the art world as well. And this was before I pursued art. I was working there as a graphic designer, and I remember thinking, oh, all the art that I was seeing was so outside of my world because I was painting a lot, like, but I was painting on the streets and I didn't have much of a studio practice, but I was in group shows and things like that. And it was only when they started doing sales around street art, graffiti, and a lot of like Basquiat and Haring and people like that, but they were really celebrating who they are as and what they've done on the streets as a unique selling point. I guess it started, I guess showing to me that there is a path for people who do paint outdoors. And here we are really, they were really in the establishment there, and they were celebrating it. So it's like I don't think you everyday graffiti artist can just come in and just paint graffiti on canvases and be an artist. But if you start training your mind and your practice to sort of start getting into those places, I think that I just think there's a lot to be learnt from painting outdoors that anyone who hasn't done that will not experience, you know, the scale and the speed and dealing with the weather and, you know, even as you were saying before, operating the boom lifts and the scissor lifts and stuff like that. It's a really exciting part of painting. Like when are you ever going to do that? You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
you can make a brushstroke as long as your own body.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
pretty exciting.
yeah. But I know we have focused a lot on your murals, but there is so much more to you as an artist as well. Like you know, you've exhibited a lot, and you've also done a lot of like art residencies as well. Like you've done them in Iceland, Finland, and Mexico. Like how did opportunities like that come about for you?
I sought them out,
Mm.
I suppose. The Iceland and Finland residencies um, were like basically I kind of fell in love with Iceland, and it inspired a lot of how I was making some works. And I thought, how in the world am I going to afford to go back there? Um, and residencies are a really amazing opportunity to actually spend proper amounts of time with a place and research it and being invested in it, whilst having sort of a reduced cost of living. And at that point, I was under 26, so there are a lot of grants I could apply for. So I had the Iceland and Finland residencies fully funded. So it's like 3 months where the government paid me to be inspired. But that was, yeah, a huge turning point for sort of having a first year outside of institutions to just be on my own and make work that was completely mine. And last year I went to Mexico as a bit of a, like I had saved up to do walls overseas, as like the Guido term before of a holiday was like I saved up to go paint. And before I went to Europe, I did a month in a residency in Mexico to be somewhere really different, somewhere I'd never experienced, somewhere totally new, to be challenged and knuckle down conceptually. Because that residency is quite academic in its format, where each week you would have meetings with academic staff who recommend readings, and then you have to do all the readings and provide feedback and sort of work in a critique-like format of developing ideas. And I thought, yeah, this will be a really special opportunity for me to, when I arrive on my painting mission, have really strong ideas behind me already and have essentially like a whole series of works I want to make that I believe in and have spent time on, rather than just going week to week, wall to wall, making up a design on the spot and not making things that are as rich as they should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also exhibit a lot. Like I know you had a recent solo show, Self and Other, at Backwoods Gallery in Melbourne. Like how'd that come about, and how'd you enjoy the experience?
Oh, so good. I'd always wanted to show with them, so it was really special when they reached out and said, yeah, do you want to do a solo? Oh, and I was like, yes. And then I was like, shit. It's a big space, and I'd never filled anything that big before. It takes me a really long time to produce oil paintings, especially with walls in between. But actually, for the first time, it meant that there was space between my works in a gallery. And I think that was really beneficial for me to actually, for once, accept some negative space and make it less busy. It felt really professional, and it felt like a really big development for me to show works with them, because I think the way that they run the gallery is not something I'd experienced before, and I felt, yeah, really looked after. And yeah, I'll be back there, I think.
Great, great. Yeah, it's a beautiful space. It photographs really well as well. You know,
The
I
light.
think there's a big thing with putting all that work into a solo show. I think it's really important to have good documentation of it as well, and that and backwards, always looks beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was my first time actually showing interstate by myself. Um, but yeah, they made it feel really comfortable and safe as well as it just looking beautiful. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
Do you enter many art prizes?
Yes. In the last year, maybe not as many. I guess because I've been away on my big mural missions, and not making as many studio works. But I think it's something that's really important. Especially Adelaide is really, you get really stuck. Like, people don't see you, people don't find you, people never see your paintings. So art prizes are a great way for me to get out of Adelaide and exhibit with people from everywhere and meet people from everywhere. Um, and I suppose I've been lucky enough to win some pretty substantial first prizes or prizes that have helped me just keep my career going as well. So um, kind of good in uh, conceptual ways and sharing ways, and also very practical life ways.
Yeah, it's a great place to get exposure as an artist. I think art prizes. Um, yeah, I enter them pretty regularly. Some
Cool.
come off, some don't. But
Yeah.
even it's just I don't know. I just think it's a great way to get eyes on your work. And as you said, when if you're tucked away and people aren't seeing it, it's great to get in front of people, in front of the right people as well.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. And getting like real life feedback is,
mm,
yeah, super valuable because I think some people can write off that need because it's like, I got the internet, everyone can see it, but it's like, but are you sharing stories about works with people? And
yeah,
yeah, are you feeling what other people are feeling?
mm, yeah.
Mm.
Nothing beats seeing art in the flesh.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I also wanted to ask you, like, jumping back to the murals a bit. One area of your artwork I've been really enjoying is these like little abstract panels you've been tapping onto your
Ooh.
murals, and then you'll do your main mural, but then you'll have these side pieces where you'll go a lot looser and abstract with your work. Is that new for you, and is that something that you're looking to build into your work, or is that just having fun and filling space? Like what is that for you?
Um, all of those things.
Mm,
I guess for the people that know me really well, they've seen these new sort of scratchy drawings and gone like, ah, this is just like your drawings. Because I have been tattooing as well for the last few years, and my tattoo designs are usually sort of these color pencil scratchy drawings that are a lot more abstract and a lot more free. And it was always my space to make things that were like more free and more fun. And um, I've always sort of wanted to introduce that into the paintings, but I wasn't sure how to marry it with my existing approach because I guess my paintings are really tight. They're really they're very clean cut, and to put something abstract in it then feels unnatural, even though everything in realism is made of abstraction, and obviously putting together something that looks like something involves lots of abstract textures, and so it feels all connected and natural for me, but I'm still figuring out how to make it look right. And yeah, I guess in the last few projects I've been able to introduce that into walls because well, the first time I did it, actually there was just a section of the wall I didn't know was there. Like when they sent me the photo, I didn't know there was this whole extra part to the wall. So I was like, I'm just gonna use my leftover palettes and put a palette, my palette on the side of the wall because everyone was all excited that I only used red, blue, yellow, and mixed all the colors myself. So I thought, in ode to that, in this tiny section, I'll just add all my colours that I've mixed as a bit of a artist thing.
Was that on the
And so,
breeze block wall?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I stepped back, like, that took me 20 minutes, and I like it more than my painting. And so I thought, this is something I could incorporate, particularly with large scale pieces, where it could be part of the architecture and a complement to the painting without having to be the painting. But I'm still figuring it out and testing things at the moment.
That's really exciting. I look forward to seeing what you do with it. It's yeah, I love that looseness. I know what you mean. Like your paintings are very tight and very well executed, and then it's just like this completely other side to you. It's it's really cool.
Yeah, it's heaps more fun to make, admittedly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I always found that like I know when I go out painting with my friends on like say a Sunday afternoon, we usually do like a wall that we'd spend a decent chunk of time on, and then like I get around on my bike a lot with a milk crate full of paint, and I might
Cool.
spend like a few hours on a piece, but then just bang out a bunch of really quick things, and I find that I'll be at home on the couch in the evening looking at the photos and just really liking those quick things more than this other thing that I slaved over for a few hours in the sun, So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good sign. But
Mm.
I think also, like, you would have works where you put in a lot of richness and energy and time that you make super duper clean, and those things are really rewarding in a different way. So
Exactly. If I only did the quick stuff, I'd feel like I'd be missing something from my
yeah.
creativity.
Hey artist, it's Claire here from the Art Career Academy. If you've been creating for years and you know it's time to go all in on your art career, then Tom and I are here to support you. If you're ready to grow your visibility, build more consistent income, and step fully into life as a professional artist, that's exactly what we help with. Our signature program, Going Pro, is designed for artists who are ready to up-level. We support you with the clarity, confidence, and a solid plan to turn your creative practice into a thriving career, without the burnout or second-guessing every move. At the Art Career Academy, we're all about raising up the art community and showing what's possible when artists back themselves. So to get started, grab our free Creative Cashflow cheat sheet. It's packed with 20 tried and tested ways to make an income from your art. Head to artcareeracademy.com to download it now. Okay, let's get back to the episode.
All right. Well, Jasmine, are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Cool, go for it.
All right. Firstly, where's the best place for people to see your work online?
I have a website, jasminecrisp.com, and I like that my hand-painted letters have been turned into a font. So I think that's a cute addition. But otherwise, just on Instagram, which is where I guess I put my less formal things or updates.
What's the handle for that?
I think it's Jasmine_Crisp because someone took my name.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know. That happens. Too many
Yeah.
people on this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's one medium you'd love to work with?
I'll probably never get to do it, but when I went overseas, I just fell in love with all the Italian, like the marble sculptures, the figurative sculptures. And I just felt so excited by the idea of making essentially my paintings of, like, my figurative paintings as life-size traditional sculptures that could be sort of like contemporary versions of romantic figures. That would be so nice. I want to make marble carved naked people. But yeah, I think the means to do that is quite impossible.
Well, do you work with anything 3D at the moment?
No, but we had to do the whole, clay sculpture thing in art school, and we would work from life models and make like feet and hands and things, and I always really loved that. Yeah.
Because I see if you build towards it, it's completely possible. Because as we were talking about earlier, people only hire you to do what you've done before. But if you're sort of saying to
Yeah.
build, say, just from little clay sculptures and then build up from there, you could get to a point where there's a big public art grant and there's lots of funding behind it, and
True.
you can pitch the idea and all that type of stuff. You know, because there's money out there and opportunities, especially, you know, big property developers and councils and all that.
Yeah, true. All right, I feel optimistic.
Yeah, I'm always optimistic. I
Yeah, that's
believe in
good.
you.
Oh, I believe in you.
Thank you. How do you know when an artwork's finished?
I have a real strong answer for this one. My lecturer in art school that I feel like I learned the most from and love and adore, Rob Guttridge. He has his own school for classical realism now. Um, he would say, you know, a painting is finished when there's nothing left to fix. And I go by that all the time, especially with walls, because towards the end it might just be hot and you're tired and you maybe can't be bothered. But I like to still spend an hour, eat an apple, look at the wall and go, is there anything there that needs fixing? Because a lot of the time I'll get back up again and go, yes, okay, there's a few things that I could make a bit better. And then when I leave, it's like, yeah, it's done now. I feel better. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever painted a mural on scaffolding?
Yeah. Only like twice, I think.
Was there anything you wanted to fix once it came down?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really hard. Particularly the first one I did. There were like a couple of faces right where like a bar was. So I couldn't even view the faces in one until the scaffold was removed. And I was like, okay, well, considering the circumstances, I'm happy with that. But if it was different circumstances, I would have liked to have, yeah, done that differently.
Yeah, I did one last year, and I really felt that when the scaffolding came down. I was standing on the street just looking at it, just going, you know, just areas I'd gone a bit too heavy with certain paint, and I needed to cut back and all that. It's just like, anyway.
And that's something most people don't think about that. Like, I'll see, I guess, artists, especially I feel in more developing countries, they only have access to scaffold. And you see what they do with huge scaffolds, and it's like, whoa, you did that with 100 bars in front of your face and you couldn't even see the whole thing. Like, I'm 100 times more impressed. But regular people walking down the street won't know. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Everything's broken up into pieces.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. What's the first piece of art you ever sold?
It was, I guess, the less formal sale, like not through a gallery, was to this guy that had a crush on me when I worked at a shopping centre. And we kept on meeting where the boxes need to be recycled. And he kept asking me about artworks and wanting to buy one. And I was just first year art school. I didn't really have any. And I was like, I have this drawing that's a self-portrait. And he was like, yes, I want that one. And I thought I'd just give it to him. But he was very supportive in that he was like, no, you're an artist. This is an item that I want to purchase. Tell me an amount so I can pay you, because like this is what you need to do if you're an artist. You need to accept money for things. So that was really lovely. And I think he's still got it. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. It's good that he, he's training that part of your mind as well, because I know with artists, it can be hard to sell things, especially early in your art life. You're like, oh, I just made it. Who's going to want to pay for this? You know, you have to build up to that. And I think once you're full time, you'll well and truly know that with all the cost of living and bills and all that. It's like, I can't just give this stuff away.
Yeah. Like, and it takes a lot of time to make a piece. So it's like, if I only can make 5 pieces in a year on canvas, they're more valuable to me as assets than money a lot of the time, in terms of like, I don't want just a quick transaction to afford a week's rent. because these objects could be a show or an art fair or something where I actually really need them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. What advice would you give your younger self?
I was always very studious and self-disciplined and just worked all the time. So, so I think like I listened to stories from people with graffiti background, and I'm kind of jealous that they were living their lives and they've got all these crazy stories. Whether it's like I stayed home because I wanted to get A+ in my assignment, So I think maybe my advice would be to have a bit more fun and not be in as much of a stress or a rush to make and exist a little bit more.
Yeah.
Probably, I think that's maybe the opposite feedback that other people might give.
No, I think it's fair enough. You seem to be out there making up for lost time, though. Lots of mural festivals and travel and, out and about. It's good.
Yeah, making things happen now, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a dream project you'd love to work on?
Um, I've always said I really wanted to do a giant painting of a girl on the toilet. In public space. But I think now actually, so I've got this teddy from when I was born, and I've painted it a couple of times, but I really loved the idea of, so I have the teddy that I loved and destroyed, and I have the original teddy that, like, I never touched it. And I like the idea if one day I got to have two walls that were opposite each other, that one wall I could paint the original teddy, and then the other wall I'd paint the destroyed, loved teddy. Because I think that would just be something that, although is extremely personal to me, would be really universal. And I usually like to write a whole flippin' essay about every painting, but I think this one would just be loved teddy, fresh teddy, no words needed. It would be nice.
Yeah. So when you said you write a essay on each painting, do you think that's something that's come through from art school?
Yes. I guess like art school more so taught me how to articulate it well, but the desire to make my works about my existence is, I think, my own. Or like it's other people's existences. It's just, I guess it's my therapy space. And that's where I put all of my feelings, so it feels important. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Who are some of your favourite artists?
Is that like of all time?
Oh, just whatever. Who's inspiring you? Who do you love?
Oh, I feel weirdly kind of like my favorite people are now like my friends or people I'm closest to, and I can't fangirl over them anymore because it's like bias. So I don't know. In terms of like really big long inspo, I always really love Lucian Freud. Just a classic art school thing. Art school girl thing. Paula Rego, I really love as a woman who does like quite sort of graphic, almost violent figures that have a lot of narrative around them. Rebecca Ness is an American contemporary painter I really love. She's inspired me to be a bit more free with my work and play a bit more with perspective. And for mural artists, I guess at the moment I've been looking a lot at Alba Faber. She's a Spanish painter. She works really tight and really loose. So I guess that's why I'm really interested in her at the moment, is just like how she's using really different painting techniques to make like quite traditional representational paintings, but then they're also very loose and contemporary. Yeah, that's some people.
Cool. Yeah. Name one artist who you think deserves more shine.
Um, I can think of so many, especially in Adelaide, because we're a bit hidden. But I was recently in Melbourne and yeah, at Frankston Street Art Festival, and Manuel Guirao, I think that's how you say his name. He's from Spain, but he's been living in Australia for a few years now. Um, and he's working out of Everfresh at the moment. His work's just so beautiful, and the way that he makes work is really authentic, and his attitude is so positive. He's making a series of murals at the moment about sort of stories from history, but trying to make them really new and fresh and interesting and painterly. And yeah, I think he's doing really cool things.
Cool. I'll have to check out his work.
Yeah, he's good.
Hmm.
He's really good.
Yeah. Do you have any future plans or projects you're working on?
Yeah, I'm going to do a wall next week in Griffith in New South Wales, and then the Darwin Street Art Festival at the end of May, which I'm really, really excited about. I've wanted to be there for a few years. I think they just have a lot of the really best works, and the way they run the festival is so amazing. I've got a really nice wall, and I'm feeling really excited about the design. I've
Hmm.
never spent that long on a design. So yeah, I want to make that juicy.
Yeah. I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, I was on the lineup in 2017, I think. It was a really good festival. Like, yeah, David, really
Yeah,
cool. Everyone looks after you. It's just a great scene up there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember a couple of years ago I went to Jason Parker's exhibition in Melbourne, and a bunch of people just rocked up glowing. And I'm like, why are you all so happy? What's happening? And they'd just come back from the festival in Darwin. And I'm like, okay, I need whatever it is that you guys are having.
They weren't glowing with sunburn, were they? It's bloody hot up there.
Sweat, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, is there anything new that you're experimenting or dreaming about?
I guess experimenting is sort of what we were talking about before. We're sort of trying to introduce more loose brush strokes and a drawing quality into the works. Um, Dreaming about, I really want to try next year to spend a year overseas, and really just paint wherever I can paint and just expand a little, or at least be more interstate and more out of Adelaide and in the world. Yeah.
That sounds cool. Well, yeah, Jasmine, thanks so much for sitting down and doing this. It's been great to finally meet you or meet you,
Yeah.
and yeah, just find out a lot more about you and your work. Yeah, big fan of what you do, and yeah, can't wait to see what's in store for you in the future.
Thanks so much. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. That's a wrap for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the chat. Big thanks to today's guests, and a huge thanks to you two for tuning in. If you receive value from this episode, it would mean the world to us if you hit subscribe and also tell a creative friend. It helps more artists discover the show and keeps the good stuff coming. All right, see you next time.